don't have like much to say. I'm still in progress on navigation bar story. I hope in this end of this week I will finish like the main part. If yes, I will next tech talk I will show what I have. But again, it's not the end because server side even not started yet. So at once I will finish, at once we'll finish with iOS and Android, they will start doing it on client side.
Okay.
From my side. Also, what I forgot to say, we have delay regarding release iOS SDK. Boaz wrote to me yesterday that he need to send again to Applause versions. I guess to Applause they sent wrong React Native plugins or something like this. If you need more details, you can directly ask Boaz about it. But in main case, that he will send the version again. So release, I hope will be on maybe on Sunday or Monday.
Okay. If I will talk to Boaz because on Reshet, for example, we already did the change of the React Native in iOS, so we can take this app to Applause if he wants.
I guess he already sent it yesterday.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Who's next? Okay, let's start with Ilan because I know he has something on his back. Okay, you want to show us what did you do this week?
On my back. Okay, let's take it here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Good. So basically, it started with a crash to investigate. And so my first item is about are we using a Hockey tool the way we can optimize our investigations? And if not, I mean, let's share a few things about it. So first of all, I discovered that in the process of investigating bugs, QA was unable to go to Hockey and research the stack trace. For example, a stack trace like this, and be able to see where it fails. So I explained to QA how to read the stack trace, and we started to give permissions to create a group, to give permissions to each developer to access the Hockey app. In case you see that you don't have the relevant permissions to see what's called statistics for each statistics and crashes for each app that you're working on, I suggest you ask Chen about it. The next thing is that during this investigation, I come up with profiling the application, the Zap iOS app, and discovering that we have many memory leaks in very basic points like AP model. So on my screen, you can see just a couple of print screens on my changes, which are still not in pull request. It's just on a branch that I made. For example, a retain cycle in AP model, observers that we don't remove beforehand that can be dangerous. What else? Using third party doesn't mean that the third party is free of memory leaks. So we need to be very careful. For example, AF HTTP contains so many known issues about how to release a session and how to release the resources. For example, using AF Session Manager, AF HTTP Session Manager, assume that you don't drop AF HTTP Session Manager singleton everywhere in your application, but in a single point of creation. So I started to do the following change that you can see here. In AP Network Manager, I created a factory for AF HTTP Session Manager. It's completely experimental. Okay, I expect just to open a discussion regarding how we are using AF HTTP Session Manager. According to the best practice, we need to control the life cycle, and we need to invalidate it, like you can see here, to invalidate the session after use. So let's take this item. Whoever wants to talk about AF HTTP, I suggest we come with a discussion specifically on it and how to use it. And would it be more convenient for us to create some kind of wrapper where we can solve the bugs without many changes in the application? In case we want to change the framework or to fix a bug of usage, today we find ourselves changing in like 100 of places, which is completely risky. So my changes for now were to replace this initialization in this one, which of course I would prefer not to return AF HTTP Session Manager. And the changes have an impact on Applicaster SDK, Component SDK, Crossmate. I mean, it's huge, and it shouldn't be like this. So there should be a better way to use to create a wrapper, you know, on third parties. My third point is regarding how we are using queues. The crash I started to investigate was a change of framework. And when you change a framework, you can issue an async request. And maybe when you come back from this request, the framework does that this time you are on the main thread and not on a background thread. Meaning that if you have a sync on main thread, you are deadlocking your own main thread. This is what happened on a specific bug. So first of all, I think that the way we use queues, it would be nice to have such a utility like you can see here. For example, run on a specific queue should check if we are already on this queue. This is just pseudocode. And if we are, just run the block. No need to dispatch. I think it's a utility that we should make. And again, it's just items to talk about. I'm sure that there is a lot of code that I haven't investigated yet. To make a long story short, the bottom line after this investigation running on my branch changes, we come from the before state that you can see here with a lot of memory leaks and a lot of AF HTTP session managers. We see just maybe the most, the main issue of seeing that you can see here 49 persistent without anything that is transient. It's very important to see that to control that we have transient, that the application is cleaning it, the instances. If not, it's a good pointer to see memory leaks. After the change, we have 3 instances of session manager. Why 3? Because we have different constructor. One is the point that I changed using AF HTTP session manager with the singleton, and the others are init with different parameters, like with a URL and some kind of configuration, and so on and so forth. Now you can see that the application is cleaning itself much better. Every gray point means that after 10 seconds, it's a snapshot every 10 seconds. There is no memory leak. We have hundreds of memory leaks in the first state, and we have tens of memory leaks after the changes. And I'm sure we can arrive to a state where it will be all green, which is a good base to make changes.
Okay, so the question is, guys, feel free to talk now. What do you think about it? Because I saw the changes, and there are a lot of changes in a very critical section in the code. And I don't know, maybe it could lead to other bugs while fixing these issues. So what do you think about it? Anton, Guy, Alechko, everyone.
I think we can make like first a list of places where we can have potential bugs and try to ask QA these places. I mean, if it's, let's say, some loading from store, so we need to check deeply this story. See what I mean?
Yes.
And if it looks okay, so I think we should have this improvement, because now what I did like half year before during some research, I don't remember when I did it, but it's, if I understand right, this leaks only regarding IF network. But if we'll open all leaks that we have inside the application, it's like thousands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think good approach to remove it from step by step. And second, what we should do, this responsibility of each developer, when developers finish some task, he should verify and define that all items that he's creating is releasing properly.
So if I'm understand it right, what do you need? What does Ilan need to do next with his branch? Should he do a pull request? Should he first make a list, and we will talk about this in the iOS channel and think what to do with it?
First, I think make a list. Second, what can be done, you can create a dev SDK with his specific branch. And with this dev SDK, he can easily build an application. Mm-hmm. So we can send this version to Applause and ask to check this list. So it will not affect, until he will merge it, it will not affect current development SDK, and we can check such way.
Okay.
I can tell instantly that there's going to be some there are potential problems here. The main issue is that when you create one of these AF HTTP managers, you define a serial request and a response serializer. And if you're using a singleton instance of it, and two people want to use it at the same time, but using different serializers, you're going to break it instantly. I don't think this is an object that should be used as a singleton. In general, we shouldn't be using singletons. It's the bane of a lot of problems, and especially when it comes to memory leaks, because if you've got a singleton, then it will, I mean, obviously some things will exist forever, but we've got the thing that I hate the most is we have this like the video manager or something that keeps the latest video player alive forever, which is a heavy object, and why the hell do we keep that alive? But that's another issue. But I don't think this is an object that we can keep alive.
No, can I just reply? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I just want to reply to this. I agree with you. For me, a singleton pattern is completely an anti-pattern to use. And I really don't want to see any manager in the code. It's definitely a bad practice. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we need to investigate the AF HTTP because it's a third party and it has known issues. And the way it's made right now, it's known to have issues if you drop AF HTTP session manager in your code everywhere you want one. It's the way it works. So I agree with you. And it's a point that we need to take, and to start to investigate. Maybe we have an alternative.
Okay.
I mean, I'd recommend at the very least to run a test and see what happens when you call two requests on the same manager that are trying to use different serializers. See what happens. If you change out the serializer as soon as you send out a request, what happens? That's what you
Yeah,
need
and
to.
also the fact that can you control the queue? And does it mean that you are changing the timeout all the time?
Okay, I think.
I mean, we can take this issue specifically and investigate it.
Yes. Okay, so let's take it afterwards. I will talk to Ilan. First, make a list, publish it in the iOS channel, and let's talk about it in the channel. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Also, by the way, at the end of the day, you can see in those statistics we share, we're talking about a few kilobytes, about like 10 kilobytes or something, 11 kilobytes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our biggest concern.
Now the problem is what you started to say before that, Anton. We are now at a stage in the application where we have thousands of leaks. So if you see one object that is leaking, it's true that you see that it's 11K, but in fact it's not 11K, but this would lead to another, it's like a big tree of dependencies. So until we have a state that is a complete clean slate, it's very difficult to say that you have solved a specific memory leak if you cannot go back to it and say there are no memory leaks anymore. Each investigation leads you to another investigation, and it takes a long time.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so let's continue. Who is here? Okay.
By the way, I will tell one second.
Yeah.
Again, maybe it's not the best idea, but theoretically, if F networking itself is like pretty problematic, so maybe we should think about to write our own manager on some native site without F networking, and step by step move our own manager. It will work properly, and that's it.
That was exactly my point. I think it's the best way to control the rollout.
Because my idea, in general, like if you use less third-party frameworks, your life will be much easier on, later.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take it to the channel. Ilan, make a list of everything and post it in the channel, and let's see what the community will say about it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so let's move to Roy Kedaria. Roy, are you ready to talk?
Always ready to talk. Never ready to shut up, but always ready to talk.
Show your face.
The good side.
So
the good side. Okay, so currently I'm working on a bug fix that actually on a change request for the broadcaster's picker. The change request is to make collection view cells size dynamically. And it sounds much simpler than it is. First of all, because it's a collection. If it was table view, it would have been easier. Basically, what I'm trying to do, I have a cell that contains an image view, only an image view, nothing else. And I need a cell to adapt to the size of the image. Problem is that I don't have the image. I have URLs of the image. And I can do loading. First loading takes a lot of time, and the result of the loading will anyway invoke after the flow layout, when the flow layout prepare the cells. So I know Android had a different way to do it. We just made a cell just, I don't care what your measurements are, but just adapt yourself to the size of the image. For iOS, it's a bit tricky, so this is currently what I'm working on. And I guess this is something that maybe I'll present next week, or because the only The only opportunity will be next week because I want to not finish it now. But
Roy, is it UI builder or
it's
legacy?
a plugin, so it's not a UI builder, but it will work on a UI builder app.
Okay, maybe you can ask Guy. I guess here he has biggest experience with resizing, so
No,
maybe he can
Guy
advise you
has
something.
it. Yeah, he has it, but the way Guy did it, he did it right. Guy, he did it with some sort of with some sort of notification when the loading was finished.
Yeah. Firstly, about order layout. First, hold on. Firstly, there was order layout that you had to make sure that you're using order layout correctly in the cells. And then secondly, then you need to send the notifications so that basically the section composite flow layout knows that this has a cached size. So you've worked out what the size for this cell is going to be, and that's set. So then it can recalculate and resize everything correctly.
There is a way to do it. I mean, if you did it so it works. But from what I'm reading currently, I'm seeing that there is a way just to make the cell adjust to the size of its content. And this is something which is much less specific. This is something that we want to know how to do. And this is something that by Apple allowing that, well, at least they say that they are supporting it. So if they say they support it, I want to see exactly how they do it and what we need to do in order to make the container fit the content the way we want to in a collection, because this might be something that we will use without any relations to waiting until the loading. In my case, the loading of the image will be completed. Just wanted to present it, and because Guy, listen, if you take the image view, only the image view which is inside the cell, and you don't pin it to the bottom. Just don't pin it to the left, pin it to the side, pin it to the side, pin it to the top, but just leave the bottom empty. So the image view will get the size of the image itself. So what I need to do to find a way just to make the cell do the same thing. So
well, when I have time, I'm happy to sit with you and show you how to do it. It's tricky. It's not that straightforward.
yeah, from what I'm reading, it's not.
I can tell you right now.
Yeah, sorry.
I can tell you right now, Roy, that all you need to do, basically, that you have the cell, and the cell has a content view, and inside you have the image view. Okay. What you do is the image view. Once you've loaded the image, okay, once you have the size of the image, you set the constraints for the image view to be fixed to the width and height of the image. Okay, and then but before that, this
of
should
the
be
content to the fix to the side of the content view.
No. With the content view, what you do is you match the edges, the bottom and top and left and leading and trailing. You fix those to the content view. Okay. So the content view matches those, and once you set the fixed width and height of the image view will push out the content view. And once the content view has its size, then the collection view can resize the cells to match it. But the content view is the key, and that's what I learned I spent so many hours on this, believe me, when I was trying to do the React Native thing. Jesus, but the content view is the key.
Okay, Roy, but this plugin, Roy, I don't know this plugin. This plugin is part of is componentized, or it's like
it's a plugin that was released, I don't know, like a month and a half ago, month ago. This is only a broadcaster picker. When you first upload the app, if you have several broadcasters, you can just choose the right broadcaster, the broadcaster you want to see, and then it will continue with the loading.
No, but it's not componentized at all. It's just a new specific
No,
view.
No, it's not componentized.
Okay, so maybe it will be a bit easier for you than it was to Guy with React Native.
Yeah, if it's not componentized, I'm sure it will be easier for me. I'm sure that it will be easier for me than what it was to Guy. Once you go into components, you never go back.
I made a new component. There's a React Native cell. That's a new component.
So why do I need the entire flow layout? I mean, the flow layout happens much before it is being loaded or being presented. It's not helping me nothing other than, you know, put the bricks where I want to, the layout of the set.
The problem is that you need to invalidate the flow layout. You need to tell the flow layout, hey, this cell has changed size. Now I know its real size. It's changed size, so I need you to invalidate the layout. You can say invalidate just for these index parts, but you need to tell it to update.
Yeah, I think that I'm doing that. By the way, one of the ways to do it is just setting up a estimated size for the layout. And
estimated size. You just
estimated item size. Estimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just tell me, okay, it's dynamically. You need to check again before you present it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So I'll take your advice on the content or content view for the cell. If I get stuck, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
Hopefully, I won't.
If a guy doesn't have time, I think that the video where he presented his solution is still on YouTube. So check the playlist, the iOS Tech Talk. It is there.
And also, I think in I sent you the demo project that I used.
Yeah. I opened it. I looked at it.
Okay, I think in there I should be doing that. I should be doing it to the content size.
Okay, before we continue, Roy, I have first question for you. Did you finish check this bug that when we talked with you that we looked together?
No, I went to this one. This was more important, so I had to go back to this one. I'll finish this one and then I'll go back to the bug. Still need to install my web server. My local web server is shit.
Please update me when we'll have more details.
Avi, I'll need you on that. Okay, I'll update you.
What? Okay.
Maybe I'll need you. You know, the old npm install.
Talk to me.
Okay, thanks.
Avi like drug dealer.
Avi like drug dealer, yeah.
You want? Wait.
Put the hood on.
Yeah.
Put the hood on.
Okay, so that's all, Roy?
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Okay, so let's move to Simon.
I'm working on an app for our team, and there was an update on iTunes that you must include some legal message in the subscription screen, and so I'm adding it to our app and trying to keep it backward compatible with the apps in store. And also I'm adapting this app to iPhone X. It has some problems. It's a template app.
Avi, you're mute.
Shit.
Okay.
Okay, regarding the iPhone X solution, Yael already done it for several apps. Talk to her. She will basically tell you what to do, and it will be quicker, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
And what solution AL did?
This is with the safe area stuff. Since Xcode.
So it's XIP changes.
It is, yeah, most of it is XIP changes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What else, Simon? Sorry to interrupt.
I was working on the Out player I talked about last week, but still not much progress in it, so probably next week I'll update about it.
Okay. Regarding React Native for Soyami, did you made the change for the latest version?
Not yet. Probably today, later.
Okay, cool. Talk to me if you have any issues.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, cool. So next up is Guy.
Yo. All right. Let me just close this down. Two big things we've been working on. So firstly, we were trying to debug some issues that we were having with the DSP. And Anna came up with this idea that we would use remote logging. So Pablo just set up some temporary service where we send, when we do these, at the moment we just do all our log calls, which just gets written to a file. But this was actually, once you get the data from the DSP, we would then log it remotely so we can track what responses we're getting from our calls, because we were getting a lot of blank screens and everything. It seemed to have worked very well. It was very helpful for debugging. It helped us solve a lot of problems. But it's not, the way I implemented it was just kind of a quick, dirty implementation just to have it working. So I'm not creating any PRs or anything from that. It's something that if we decide that we want to do it, because I think Anna spoke to Udi about it first and he said it's a good idea, but it's something we'll need to discuss and plan and all the rest properly. But in the meantime, yeah, it's been a very interesting tool for debugging, very, very useful. The second thing that I've been working on today, we had this bug where if you go into the settings screens on basically any application, you go to settings and then you go into one of the options, let's say, for example, info, okay, or about, or whatever the screen might be called, and it's a web view. And that web view, if you click on a link inside it, it takes you forward, but there's no way to go back because the controls are hidden by default. Basically, with our web view, our AP-timed web view controller, which is our root class for our web view, any web view screen that we make is always using that. It's disabling the controls, the navigation controls by default, okay? Which is the opposite of what it should be doing. It should always be showing the navigation controls. Otherwise, you can't go forward and back. So I'm working now on enabling them, but it opens the door to a lot of regression issues, because at least when you create a web view from a link category in the Applicaster CMS, you can actually, you've got an option, a little checkbox to say, do we show the navigation controls or not, which isn't being respected at all. So my idea is that it'll at least respect that, but I mean, we're slowly pulling away from the Applicaster CMS, and we're going to have more and more applications using Atom feeds and UI builder and stuff. And there's currently no available mark for that. So my thought was to, and I'll share the PR with you. It's not fully ready yet, but I'll post it eventually on the iOS channel to show you how I'm setting up so that there'll be a new flag that you can put up in the template apps, at least to begin with. That at the moment, if you look in the template apps, I think you have like.
Do you want to share a screen?
Yeah, let me do this. Share. Yeah. All right. I think you can see this, right? This is layout 39, which is used in Bellator. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this, for example, this is, as you can see, cell HTML standard. So this will use our HTML cell view controller for this component. Okay. And there's something like don't allow did select actions, which means that when the user clicks on it, it won't try and treat it like a regular cell and try to open some inner action or anything. It'll just ignore it. It'll let the cell handle its touch for itself because it's a web view. So it might have links and stuff. You don't want to catch those clicks. So this is basically on for every cell component. And what I was thinking was to add, let me grab that. Something like shows navigation. Here. Yeah. So now you just need to add something like this, and you set it to false. Okay, because this right here we know is going to be a little ticker, we would add this bit to it here, and then suddenly it'll be, the navigation controls will be hidden. So maybe what we could do is we can make it true by default, sorry, make false as the default value. So that way it kind of respects what we currently have. And then if you want to enable the navigation controls, then you need to actually mark this as true. How does that sound to you? Does that make sense?
For me,
Yeah, but you say that like you have a problem from setting screen, and setting screen is not componentized.
What's second screen?
Or I missed something. I guess you told about that you have on set when you go from setting screen to some web. No, I missed.
No. I'm not talking about like any kind of second screen feature. If you go, hold on, I can show you.
no, the second screen was related to the don't allow did select action. He said that this basically blocks clicks, which allows to go to a certain second screen URL or something.
Yeah. So let me show you. Hold on. Share. Let's see if this works. Dun, 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 dun. Where's my simulator? All right, you can see the simulator now? Okay. So if I go here, let's say I open, this is a settings screen. I click on whatever. I've got all these, I've got in here some links. Yep, here we go, link. I click on this, and now I can't go back. The only way that I can go back to the previous screen is if I close it and reopen it, which is kind of rubbish. That's what I mean by the second screen now.
Yeah, I see. But what I'm saying is that how you control in this case on cell style, because JSON not relevant at all from this screen.
The JSON's this screen. So this screen, this is basically opened through the Applicaster CMS. And in the Applicaster CMS, the link categories have a special checkbox. This is what I was sharing on the iOS channel and ZapDev update channel, that screenshot that in the Applicaster CMS settings for a specific link category, there is a checkbox. Do you want to show controls or not?
Okay, so what you're saying, you're just trying to mimic this checkbox on template level.
No, I want to respect the checkbox first and foremost. Okay, if that checkbox is yes, if for that link category they want it, then they'll have it. If they don't want it, they won't have it. That to me is number one priority. And then, but then if it's not, if for example, you're using an Atom feed, if you're getting the data from elsewhere, okay, then we need to go to the component. We need to ask the component, do you want to show the navigation buttons here or not?
Okay.
It sounds to me like a great solution. I did the same. I had an issue in the past with Atom feed with a video. I wanted to set it to auto mute on start. So I did it inside the template, okay? I added a certain flag inside the cell, which is should auto mute, for example. And this was our solution for that. So it sounds great.
Okay. Okay. So I'll share the PR with you soon as soon as I put it up there. And then yeah, the idea is though once we've got it done on the client side, then we'll need to add to the HTML components in UI Builder. We'll need to add these same flags. Because at the moment, it seems that we have no control over customization of this in UI Builder. Like not even there's actually meant to be a few flags that we have here, which is not allowing scroll, the scale to fit, and now this new one, the navigation controls.
But again, in UI Builder, it's a wrapper on component SDK. So once you will add this key, you'll just need to add this key inside cell style for HTML component, and that's it.
So the problem with that is, what if on one page you do want to have controls and on the other page you don't want to have controls? I guess you need to create two different components, just like we pick families and cell
Yeah,
styles.
or in this case, we can make a rule for this component in UI builder and
Yeah.
just set it true or false, and that's it.
Okay, that's what I'd like to do.
Because I like better to use one component than two components because of one parameter.
Yeah, two components that are exactly the same except for one parameter changing. Okay.
And if just a suggestion, if you want, you can add another flag, to the app defined, where you can basically set all of your HTMLs for all the cells in your app to be in a certain state. So it will let you, for example, if you have 5 web views, you can do don't show for all 5 and to go to a certain cell and show just for that. Just saying.
Okay, great.
Okay, anything else, Guy?
Yeah, just one. I just did one other tiny little change now, which was just to add a little call to AP logger error. We need to try and add as many of these calls as we can. I mean, I know we don't want to get spammed. It's very hard to go through the logs if you've got way too many. But especially with something like a data model failing to pass, which is what I added a log for, that's something that we should have. Because when we're getting errors in our app and suddenly things are coming up empty, it's very difficult to debug. Especially this was a bit of one of these rare bugs. We didn't know how it was coming about and why. And I basically said to Bianca, you know, when you see it, go into the settings and email me the logs, because then I can check the logs, because I couldn't replicate the problem. It happened very randomly. It's the best way to do it. I get the logs, but there's not enough information in the logs. So it's a very useful thing to have. So if at any point you're writing some kind of code to load some model, some data, print out the results. Print out if it succeeds or fails. I mean, if it succeeds, maybe you don't need to print out the whole object details, because it might be some massive collection or who knows what. But at the very, very least, please print out loading errors and passing errors and stuff. That's it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's move to Pablo.
Hello. I don't have anything to share this week. I was mainly with configuration issues and updating some plugins.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm the only one that didn't talk. Okay, so basically news about Chromecast. Today, I basically finished configuring all the state for the Ilan player side. So now, basically, I can see I can launch Chromecast from a full screen player and from an inline cell. Okay, this is only for our default player. Okay, if you have a special player, you have to configure some things. So next up for that, I will do some quick QA to see that everything doesn't break. And I will later start to write the documentation for that. Okay, so everyone will have the ability to use it and to implement it. And also, I will write sections for the PMs and sections for developers, okay? So everyone can understand all the parts. So that's it for me. Anyone like to say something before we are saying goodbye to each other?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell Roy first?
No, I just have a different question. Juanjo just told me that he just added the native tab bar plugin to one of his apps, and the app completely crashes. So if anyone ever dealt with native tab bar, I think it's a European development because I think Alex did it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Alex did it.
Okay, so if anyone has any idea before I plunge into it, 1, 2, 3.
Just send the exception in the channel, and if someone knows that.
Yeah, I'll probably run it just to see what is the error or why it's crashing.
Mhm.
And I'll check if anyone knows if it's active on different other apps. That probably anyone knows an app that it's there.
What about the
Maybe.
Bellator guy? We're using it there?
I can check. I'll check it. I'll check if it's in Bellator. Even though I think if it's in Bellator, it's not really helping me. But
I miss what it is you need. Sorry.
native tab bar plugin.
Roy
Yeah.
Crash application.
We're using it in Bellator. We're using it in Sports Deutschland.
Okay. With
It's
Colorado.
working.
Working also. Okay. So I have a crash with this in Colorado. I'm not saying it's related to Colorado. Just giving you the full picture.
Are you running Xcode 9.1 or 9.2?
I didn't run it. I just got it from one of my Juanjo Galera, which is a PM. So he's running it on his phone. He edited it. It didn't crash before, and now it's crashing after he edited it. So maybe it might even be a configuration issue if there is a configuration for that.
Could be.
Okay, I'll check.
Blame Canada, Roy.
It's always because of Canada.
Blame Canada.
Yeah. Alisa from Canada.
South Pal. Yeah.
I have a question. Again, maybe I missed something. I tried to play yesterday with I passed to chat with view semantic content attribute force right to left. Theoretically, it should work, but it's not working for me. Do anybody play with it before? Basically, with what I just want to do, I just want to mirror a view without creating new xib.
Didn't we have this capability before?
No.
To take a zip and change it?
We have
Not on the
capability.
UI
We
not
take
on the-
iPod. Huh?
Not in the UI builder, but before we had it in when we defined apps as RTL.
This we didn't use at all. App RTL it's something else, because what happened, you just build as a way an items, and here you need to mirror in the view itself with buttons, with everything. So we don't do it. And this semantic content attribute became available from iOS 9 minimum. So that's why we never use it. I just want try to better to use one line of code than create a new xib. But for some reason, it's not working for me, but I will try to check now. Okay, that's it.
By the way, when are we moving to iOS 10? Just a
Ask
question.
Udi. I guess next near in 5 months or 4 months or something.
Liv said in August or so.
Yeah. This is what I think too. Around this time.
So we have time.
I think the numbers are there's still quite a few users on iOS 9, at least in Israel. So
I guess Mexico is a bigger problem.
No, Mexico.
nope.
It's not.
He said Mexico is much more advanced than Israel. Sorry, bro.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not new. Go to Mexico. See Mexico. Come here. You see it.
Okay, guys,
Okay.
have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Wait. Last what I want to say. So look like more developers from time to time start to use React Native. Yeah. So I think people who's using React Native now and know it good, I will ask to share. Maybe they have some kind of materials that can advise to other developers to review it, to make learning faster or whatever.
Or we can do some sessions and record it. So, like for example, we have components by you. Today, Livio will talk to Ilan about Applicaster SDK. So let's do a session about React as well.
Actually, I think we should all start, if someone don't know React, like me, I mean, I'm going to take a course on that because we are just going to React. We are living native and going to React. This is what I see all the time. So for us, for the people who knows it, okay, they have one advantage, but we can't stay behind on that.
It is.
No, I agree. I agree about sessions. So maybe we can sync when we can do it, like specific day, maybe like 2 weeks and next week. I don't know. But anyway, just if you have some kind of good materials that you can advise, or books to read, so share it to iOS channel. And Roy, you have drug dealer near.
Yeah, but you have sites like Udemy or stuff like that. They offer courses for nothing, no, like almost free. Like, I don't know, $10 tops. And like it should be, I didn't check on it yet, but I guess they have pretty, full courses to learn the language and from the basics to, I don't know, let's say intermediate level.
First, Applicaster already have some course about React Native. I can share it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, if again, I saw you know it. We have like a lot of links. Like
we have too many links. We have a lot. We have Ray Vanderlich link, and we have other links. So we need to organize everything maybe in a list that
Roy, ask Anton what he's doing. When he gets a new link, he puts this link to some place with login and password, and then just open it and find what he needs.
Okay. So I have a better solution for that. I'm just going to take the links from Anton instead of doing it myself. Easy way.
Yeah, it will work. Anyway, I will share this link to iOS channel, but again, if you have something, like, please add.
Okay. Cool. I will talk with Udi about to do our recorded sessions with the people in the company. But remember, it depends what you want to do. It depends what you want to do. If you want to write JavaScript and use the real React, you need to learn first JavaScript and HTML and everything, and then the framework. If you want to use just React Native for iOS, it is a different story, okay? So the Facebook, for example, has lots of documentation about it.
No, I guess so far we need the directive for work. So my point of view is that, like, when each developer will have this task, he will have ability just to start work, not like to spend like additional months or 2 before he can take it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I would say to Udi.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. And someone approve my pull request. Bye.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.